Hey, it's May, and welcome to another bookish video. Today we're going to be catching up on my June TBR and also doing my little TBR jar for July. I have some unfortunate news. I did not do a good job at reading books in June, and I honestly don't expect me to do a good job at reading books in July either. If you guys recall from my last video, I told you guys how I was out of town for 1 week in Michigan and did not read a lick in Michigan. We were so busy, so jam packed. There were so many things going on that I just did not have any time to read. And on top of that, my books just kind of put me in a slump this past month. And so I wasn't really excited to read. I think if I were to have, a romance on my list, it would have gone a lot smoother than it did. First, we're going to do my TBR jar for July, and then we are going to talk about the books I read in June. Okay, so for July, I'm going to keep it super, super minimal, super small, and I'm only going to read 2 books because I honestly don't think I'm going to have a lot of time to read books in general in July. I am going back to Michigan for another 2 weeks at the end of July. So I really don't think I'm going to be reading much while in Michigan, but we will see. So let's pull from our jar. Okay, we have a book with pirates. Pirates, a book with pirates. Okay, so I have one book that is pirate related, and it is The Pirate Bride by Kathleen Yabaro. I'm just going to read the back of the book. I have it on Libby. It says, "Can a former privateer and a determined heiress find lost treasure in 1725? The last time New Orleans attorney Jean Luc Valmont saw Maribel Corbota, a Spanish nobleman's daughter, she was an 11-year-old orphan perched in the riggings of this pirating vessel, proving herself as the best lookout on his crew, until the day his infamy caught up with them. All the innocent lives were lost, unsure why he survived, but vowing to make something of the chance he was given. Jean Luc has buried his past life so deep that no living person will ever find it until a very much alive and very grown up Maribel Kubota arrives on his doorstep and threatens all he now holds dear." Interesting. I really hope this is a romance. It does say it's romance, it's historical fiction, it's also a Christian fiction. Right now, it has me place it on hold, so I'm gonna see if I can actually get it through the library. But that is The Pirate Bride by Kathleen Yabaro. Okay, let's pull our next one. Please be a romance or something equivalent. I'm just picking one at this point, the one that I like, because I'm in a slump. Okay, a book with a beautiful cover. That one I can do and will do. All right, let me pull some books from my bookshelf. Okay, so the 3 books that I picked out from my bookshelf are Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, The Knight and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, and The Last Tiger by Julia and Brad Ryu. I think that's how you say their names. Look at that cover. I honestly don't know. I've been really wanting to read all of these. These are all brand new books. I've never read them before. The Last Tiger is a YA book, and I did pick this for the beautiful cover, but I'm kind of tempted to read The Knight and the Moth. Let's see. The Knight and the Moth is like a gothic romance type of a thing. There's like magic and different stuff like that, which seems fun. And then Divine Rivals is like an enemies to lovers. Okay, I think I'm gonna read The Knight and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is a stunning, stunning cover. Look at this. Like, look at all of this detail. And I love it. Also, I've been just like craving to read a like darkish romance book, so we're gonna do that one. And I'm gonna pick one more from my TBR jar just to be safe. I'm feeling a little ambitious. Okay, okay, we can do this. A book that was turned into a movie or a show. Okay. I have a few in mind. The first book that I have on my shelf that is actually turned into a movie was Me Before You. That one is a really, really sad romance. I don't know if I'm feeling like I want to read this one in this current season of life for multiple reasons. Number one, to me, it feels more like a fall slash winter book, less of a summer book. And number two, I'm not, I don't want like a sad romance right now. I want like an upbeat, happy romance. This is hard. Okay, I think I am going to pick Me Before You because it's on my physical bookshelf and I need to read more of those books that are on my physical bookshelf. So, okay, I lied. I am switching up that last one. We are going to read The Fault in Our Stars. It is an oldie but a goodie. The Fault in Our Stars came out, I think, when I was in middle school, late middle school, early high school, something like that. Not the book, the movie. Um, and I don't know, I'm just kind of feeling it. I know it's really sad. I know, but I have always loved this book. So we're gonna go back to that. So let's talk about the books I read in June. Okay, so I had a long, I don't know what's, there we go. I had a long list of books that I had planned to read in June. However, I only read two out of my whole TBR, and the two that I ended up reading were The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants and My Dear Hemlock. So let's talk about these things. If I look down, it's because I'm looking at my laptop, which has my notes on it. Okay, we need to debrief about the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Okay, who deemed this book to be appropriate for a YA audience? Because this book is supposed to be about 15 slash 16-year olds, and maybe I would just grow up sheltered. No, I did grow up sheltered, thankfully. But the things that these girls are talking about in this book, I'm like, I didn't even think about or process when I was 15 or 16 years old. First of all, I just want to say this is a nostalgic book. This is a um an oldie but a goodie. I've always loved the movie, loved the film. There's no language in this book, nor is there spice, which is fantastic, especially because it is a YA book. Um, but tell me why in this book, 15-year-olds are trying to hook up with 20-year-olds. Like, that is not okay. Like, I was really struggling because Bridget was giving me a heart attack. If you don't know, Bridget is one of like the main characters. Spoilers, but she finds one of her camp counselors super attractive at this soccer camp she goes to in Mexico, and she tries to hit on him and all this stuff, even though he's like 6 years older than her. And to me, that's just really weird. Don't get me wrong, by the end of the book, they both are like, that was wrong. Like, he's basically like, as a camp counselor, this is wrong, and I'm just way too old for you, all this stuff, which is great that he, took accountability and was like, no. But the fact that this relationship almost seemed like it was encouraged really, really, really turned me off from this book. In fact, I found it more angry that I felt like this storyline was being almost encouraged as like a normal thing that 15 and 16-year-old girls think about. And don't get me wrong, like I had crushes on my camp counselors, but even the thought of like going further with that little crush, like I knew was not okay. I don't know. That's just me. I think the storyline that I related to the most or could connect to the most, not because our stories are similar in any shape or form, but was Carmen. I felt like her emotions and her story was so believable and so real, especially as a 15/16-year-old girl. Um, I just felt like I could relate to her. Her emotions were palpable, they were entertaining. I was like, yes, like I would totally feel the same way if I was going through the same situations. And I absolutely love that. I did write in my notes multiple times that Bridget gives me so much anxiety because of just how spontaneous she is, how impulsive she is, but also just trying to pursue a 20-year-old as a 15-year-old. Like what? I did highlight in here on page 193. I liked the quote that says, I contain multitudes, basically saying, like, no one is just one thing. Like, no one is just identifies as one thing. Like, because I'm a mom, like, that's all I am. No, I'm a wife, I'm a child of God. I contain multitudes. Because I have kids doesn't mean all that I am is a mom. That is just a piece of me. And so I really love that. um, I wrote in here that I liked that Eric admits that he is in the wrong and that at this time the relationship is inappropriate and illegal. I like that he took accountability and was like, no, we're not, no, 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 no. Back away, Bridget. Back away. I also liked Tibby and Bailey's story and their friendship and all the things. On page 251, I highlighted and just said, you can change your mind. And I highlighted that because that just felt like a reminder to me of like, you're not stuck doing one thing for the rest of your life. You're not stuck. Like you can change your mind. As a parent, I can change my mind. If the way I am disciplining my kids, I'm like, I don't really like that. I can change my mind and discipline them a different way. Or, you just have the freedom to change your mind. You're not stuck in one thing just because you've said that you like that thing or you're into that thing or whatever. I have a huge thing about living in boxes. I don't like putting anyone in a box. I don't like myself being put in a box because I'm a stay-at-home mom. That doesn't make me a quote unquote trad wife. Just because I am a bookish girly doesn't make me like super nerdy. Just because I like all these things. I don't like being put in a box. Okay, so that was The Sister of the Traveling Pants. I rated that book a 3 because I strongly felt that um I didn't like Bridget's storyline. That really threw me for a loop, especially because she is a minor and he's an adult, and I know that it gets addressed, but felt like, and I could be wrong, I could be reading it wrong, but I felt like the storyline was almost in favor of her doing that. And I was just like, I am not in favor of her doing that, nor do I think any 15, 16-year-old should be doing that. Anyways, now let's talk about Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. Okay, I went into this book with really high hopes, and I finally got it in Libby, so I decided to read it. And I only got 60% of the way through, and then Libby was like, sorry, we have to take your book away from you because other people want to read it. So I didn't get to finish it, which I was a little upset about. But I felt like it took me to get through half of the book in order to feel invested and interested in the storyline, which I found to be a struggle for me because I'm used to books that really hook you right away. And for this, it took me a really, really long time. There's a lot of building up of characters in the book and their storylines and their emotions and different things. And that was more difficult for me. I went into the book thinking that the book was going to take more of a mystery type of thing. It's more of like a sentimental coming of age kind of story, if that makes sense. If you don't know, Tova's son mysteriously died at the age of 18, and her husband died at a young age as well. And so she's kind of like this lonely widow that works in an aquarium in a small town on the Pacific Northwest. And eventually she meets some guy. She kind of like, I'm trying not to spoil it, but she ends up hurting her foot, which requires her to step away from her job for a few weeks. And in place, this new guy comes along and she kind of teaches him and trains him on how to run the aquarium and make it look squeaky clean.
Put your weight into it,
That's
honestly.
all my
Otherwise,
weight.
it'll be all puddles.
And they end up striking a relationship, like friendship, not relationship, friendship, and some more secrets get revealed along the way. But from what I wrote, I kind of found this book boring, and maybe that's because I read a lot of fantasy, romance, 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 and romance. So I found it a little like, mm, where's the plot? What's going on here? It was definitely hard to like stick with, and very slow. However, I did watch the movie before finishing the book, and I loved the movie. Um, I was like, oh, I like now that I've seen the movie, like I wish I would have stuck with the book, even though Libby took it away from me. Um, but yeah, so I would rate this book probably a 3.5/4 stars because it was just really sweet. It was really sentimental. The only thing I really struggled with was I felt like it was very slow at building up that storyline. So, yeah. And there is no spice. I can't remember if there's language or not. I think there is language. Yeah, there is. Okay, the last book I read is My Dear Hemlock by Tilly Dillahay. Of course, for me, this gets out of 5 out of 5 stars. There's no language, no spice, nothing like that. Um, Honestly, it's just a phenomenal book. I go through and I highlight so many different things. So, if you guys don't know, this book is a Christian fiction, nonfiction book. Essentially, it is a variation of the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. But there is a young married Christian woman, and these demons are essentially trying to separate her from God, trying to harm her relationship with God. And so they walk throughout the book on like, here's how to separate this person from God and to basically make her sin. And some of the quotes that I have in here is, here's page 39. It says, she can take the bitterness of this one thing, being forced to live a normal life with a normal man, to the grave. I've seen women in their 60s start living in the shell shock of surprise that they aren't movie stars, that they have to clean their own bathrooms, and that their husbands dare to age and grow fat like other men. What other quotes? This is from page 63. It says, this is what the screen gives the humans. It gives them the same escape. They don't know when or how they came to be on their phones. They only know they are freed from the plodding, repetitive step of moment after moment. The joys and sorrows of life are muted for them, and they are carried down the road of time without knowing or caring. So I love this book. I think it's a good book to pick up and read at least once a year. I really wish there was like a devotional that kind of goes along with it, because I feel like it would just make a really good conversation piece, especially for life groups with other women and things like that. But yeah, I read Tilly Dillahay, My Dear Hemlock. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next bookish video. Bye!